Hey guys, welcome to the lab. We're back with some more exclusive content. We are joined today by my good friend Joe. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Leon. This is fun. We've had a fun conversation for the last hour and a half, and I'm excited for us to kind of share some of our thoughts and take a look at some of these hats that we made together. I'm ecstatic about how well they came out.
All right, so let's give people a little bit of a backdrop, kind of set this one up. So, you were involved heavily with this channel and kind of getting it off the ground. You were a part of the inaugural episode. It was supposed to be a practice episode. We ended up airing the content because we thought it was so good. The hats got lost. We ended up not making them initially, and then we eventually had them released with Pro Image Colorado. Flash forward a little bit longer. You've been a long time supporter of this channel, Views from the Vault, in my endeavors. So you have made a couple of the friends and family pack, collaborator pack, rest in peace to those things. But now we've got you back in the lab. We have a 3-cap capsule for you to kind of unveil. One of them has been not leaked in the traditional sense. You sent a couple to my co-hosts and co-collaborators in the Views from the Vault crew. Seems like everyone got their hat except me. That's fine. Mail's slower in Canada. That's fine.
Yeah.
So you've created a little bit of a buzz.
You were supposed to grab one when you were in Colorado.
Yeah, it didn't fit in my suitcase on the way back. But they all got them. You're wearing another one, and then there's a third one that we'll unveil at the towards the end of the episode. But basically, you got your shot to kind of do it again and jump in the lab and make some more awesome hats. I really like the style in which you kind of look at things, because you're such a consumer of, I guess, hat content, that you're always wanting to try different things. You see a color or you see something from a shoe that you like or something like that. So I was excited to get you back in the lab to kind of work with me to try to expand my horizons as a creator and hat designer. So talk about the 3 hats that we're about to unveil and have for sale at the end of this episode at Pro Image Colorado.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's nothing. I don't think there's anything more fun, at least for me, as far as like a hobby, is like getting to make hats. So like, when I first met you a little over a year ago, I mean, obviously I'd been watching you for years, because I think I started watching Views from the Vault back in 2000, when you started back in sometime in 2020, after I heard Pierre on the Sneaker podcast with Greg and George. So I immediately tuned in because I was collecting hats, but it kind of it took it to an unhealthy financial level,
Yeah.
especially during the pandemic, where there was an explosion of hats, and it's like every time you see these hats, you kind of are like, I really like that, but I would love to do it this way with that logo, or I would change this color, and then when that kind of program kind of came out, which kind of like I think you guys had Luke on Views from the Vault, and talked about how you could get a personal pack, even though it was kind of pricey. It was like, well, this is worth it, because I've always wanted to do this. And so I think I did 3 or 4, no, maybe it was 5 or 6, 5 or 6 of those hats. Maybe I'll pull those out a little bit later. There's somewhere sitting around here in my hoarder's apartment. But you kind of taught, I got to meet you. We talked about you and your channel a little bit. And then, I was practicing making hats with you. And then you kind of taught me how to mock up a hat, and, help me kind of figure out how to use Photoshop, because that's something I've been wanting to learn how to do my whole life. And so you kind of taught me the basics around that, and how to mock up a hat and find the right materials and the right colors, because obviously at the beginning, I thought this color would look this way, and you were like, no, Joe, it's going to look like this on this hat, which helped save me, because I actually, of all the hats I've made, I haven't been disappointed really in any of them. Maybe at first, like being not liking a certain color, but then later on being like, actually, I'm really glad that color came out that way, because you just tend to fall in love with the different types of threads and the color combinations. So then you and I started talking about maybe doing some hats together, and I had some ideas of some hats that and when I make a hat, it's really just like I kind of make it for myself. Like I'm kind of from the school of like I kind of only want to be the only one that has the hat that I have, which is why those personal packs were kind of cool, because I could get them, and sometimes people would write to me after I'd post them, and I might sell one or two. But most of the time, I just give them away, because I just really want to give them to people in my life that understand kind of me and maybe why I made the hat. And if they're going to wear it, it's going to be something to kind of remember me by, other than just like, hey, here's some dude that's trying to, I'm not trying to be a hat designer. I'm just really like trying to make cool hats that I would like to wear. And then, I stopped kind of buying as many hats, but then, recently I've started getting more and more back into buying hats from stores and from other creators, just because, I've, you just start to really, start appreciating certain people's work. And I'm not trying to like, put myself in any kind of like position where like, I don't have a hat name, so to speak. I mean, you see, it says back parking lot here, but that's just kind of, I can't force my friends and family to look at my shoe and my hat collection all the time. And that's kind of like my Instagram handle, where I can, get excited about, shooting whatever I'm starting to hoard or collect, and sometimes things that I make. So the first hat I wanted to make was kind of a tribute to my dog Dakota. And so sorry if I start crying, just because whenever I think about him, I miss him, even though he's been gone for 2005, almost 19 years, coming up in September. My middle name is Wolf. I had always thought that my my Australian Shepherd was a wolf, because my dad lied to me when I was a kid and told me that my little puppy Australian Shepherd was part wolf. So I, went around spreading that rumor to all my friends through my childhood, who, eventually were like, your dog's not a wolf. And so that kind of put it in my head, like at some point I was gonna get a wolf. Even though there's a lot of kind of bad stories out there about hybrid wolves, my dog Dakota, he was, I think, at least 50% wolf, because I saw the pictures of all of his of his lineage and his parents and his grandparents. He was the most gentle soul in the world. I mean, we definitely had a lot of battles when he was becoming of age, where we had to wrestle, and he had to understand that human beings were the only ones, and definitely needed to bite him back a few times on his mouth. But that's how everything that I read was like, that's how you have to raise a wolf. You got to bite him back. Not hard, but like you just kind of got to let him know. But he was besides my most recent dog, Chester, who I'll make a hat for at some point, but I also can't talk about right now. But Dakota was universally loved, and I love this Wolves logo just because of the different kind of thread levels inside the logo. There's 3 different levels. I love the side patch logo that we use, because even though it's not the 30th anniversary patch, it basically is the 30th anniversary patch. It just doesn't say 30th anniversary on it. It just says Minnesota Timberwolves. So I was really excited that we were able to kind of use that. But yeah, Dakota was kind of the inspiration for this hat, and I had kind of started to really fall in love with brown hats a couple of years ago, and really felt like it's a great color for me. Which selfishly, I'm like I said, I like just making things that at least I know I'm going to really enjoy wearing for a long period of time. And then we really got to kind of experiment with you, and thankfully for you, you kind of changed the some of the threading that I wanted to use. You ended up making a better choice and kind of using this kind of sea glass green on the main color inside the wolves, which was better than the color I originally wanted to use, which was kind of more of that Tiffany blue color. And I'm so happy that you kind of had me make that change, because like it really did come out in a way that like is just, you know, way better. Like looking at it right now from across the room, I'm just like, thank God we didn't use that Tiffany blue, because I think it would have felt like a completely different hat. And the kind of this green, glassy, sea glassy kind of thread. I haven't really seen it used on that many other hats, and so you know, I think you really saved the hat for me, Leon.
All right. Well, let's take a little scroll down memory lane. So let's take a look at young Joe here with
Yeah. So this is
Dakota.
Joe, 19 years old. My parents did not. I was living at home, kind of going to college at a local college, which I ended up going to a bunch of different colleges, and I ended up, you know, finishing my work at UCLA. But this is me at home with Dakota, probably day 2 of bringing him home in my my little Andre Agassi tennis shirt, and that's kind of me sitting there in the middle, and then you can see him kind of trying to nibble on some of my Timberlands that I'm wearing right there. He's sitting in between, and then you've got kind of 2 pictures of Dakota when he was fully grown, kind of in my hometown, home county, one out kind of near this marsh that we always hiked in and did lots of long walks in at night and during the day. And then one of them over here in Richardson Bay, which is basically the San Francisco Bay that you hear about. So we'd go to the little beaches around our town, and you know, he loved loved running in the water. So that was that's this slide.
Nice. And then we got him here.
So there he is with my sister. That's when he's like, maybe we had just moved from one house to another house, and so that's him. He's not fully grown there when he was like laying on his little bed there with my sister, but that's him probably about 3/4. So he's probably about maybe 100 pounds there. So, but this other photo in the bottom, that's Mount Tamalpais in the background. That's like the big kind of, it's my favorite place in the world. It's my favorite place to hike. But like that's where my county, like all the towns in my county, are all kind of built around the base of that mountain. So you've got Mill Valley, Corte Madera, Ross, San Anselmo, Fairfax. Only people that are from Marin County or know of Marin County are kind of know what I'm talking about. But it's like a bunch of cute towns that are all kind of built around the base of that mountain. They're all little villages, and that's us in that same marsh I was talking about when we were doing. You know, we'd walk there almost every day, because that was kind of part of a large bike path that was down the street from my house.
Awesome. And then we're gonna finish off with these 2.
Yeah, these are 2 photos. One of my mom's friends, the professional photographer, she took the one in the upper left, and that's Dakota, just kind of, you know, resting as he always would rest. And then this other one's a photo I took of him in another house when I actually got out of college, which was always a tough thing, finding a place, at least in the late 90s in the San Francisco Bay Area during the tech boom, the .com boom, I should say. Finding a place that would let you have a dog, much less a dog that was 130 pounds and 6'3" when he would put his paws on my shoulder. But yeah, so you know, he was like this dog, as I said in my post. You know, I had a birthday party for him a couple of years before he passed away at our house in San Francisco, and he, like, there was literally 200 people there, and they were all there because of Dakota. If I had a birthday party for myself, there might have been 5 people. Like, people love this dog. Like, you know, like they were initially always afraid of Dakota because he was so big, but like, you know, there's this one story where when I was at UCLA. He was really smart, and my roommate Brian Matthews, he would be in the backyard, and like we would, you know, when you live in LA, you kind of like leave especially if you're a college student, you don't have like a AC and all this stuff, so you just like your windows are open, your doors are open. But he lived in the backyard, and he kind of came up to Brian's door, and he kind of slid his sliding his screen door open, and Brian jumped out of bed to try to prevent him from coming in the house because he would just wreak havoc. And he just ran right past Brian, ran out the front door because we left our front door open. And Brian's like in his underwear chasing after Dakota in the street and sees this woman with a like a bassinet. Like she's like she's like a nanny. She's like taking a baby for a stroll down the street on Berry Street, which is near Barrington in Santa Monica where we lived. And Dakota just goes straight into the bassinet with his mouth, and Brian thinks, oh my God, he's gonna eat this baby. And all he does is just puts, just like every other internet video you see where like, it's like they like animals recognize, babies and or children and just human beings. So like he just puts his head in there. Brian's scared, thinking he's going to eat the baby because he had recently just eaten a possum. But no, he just went in and he was just like, the woman, he said the woman like backed away, like just like basically was just like, what is this wild animal coming to like eat my baby? But he just got in there and sniffed it, and just, Brian just ended up looking stupid in his underwear chasing after this dog running through the streets of Santa Monica.
All right. And this is the final product. So this was shown on multiple episodes of Views from the Vault. So we've had a bunch of different inquiries. So I can't wait for people to get their chance to cop this hat, because I know I've had to answer questions on it all weekend, and that's just kind of a testament on your personal style and what you put together, because I think it's an excellent hat, worth the trouble that people want to go for to acquire this.
Yeah, and I was just really excited to like make a sneaky two-tone. I mean, the top is walnut, the crown's walnut, and the visor is burnt wood, which I just love. We'll see later how much I love burnt wood, but like it came out, like I said, way better than I expected to it. We used that copper kind of in the side patch a little bit to kind of bring it out, some other metallic blue in there. Kind of like, if there's one thing I might change, would be like maybe less metallics, because in the side patch, because it kind of, I don't know, I mean, you can see here it's not great, but it's like it shines a little bit too much for me. But listen, I'm not complaining. It looks great. It's just only when it's like the sun hits it, it's like it kind of blings out a little bit too much. But I couldn't be happier with the hat. Like I'm so excited, and I'm so excited that I got so many of them, because it's going to be a hat I'm going to be able to rock for at least the rest of the time I'm alive. We'll see how much longer that is. I'm headed to the hospital tomorrow for a week, but we'll figure it out. But I'm super excited about this, and I couldn't have been more happy. Like that moment when you get that box and you open it up and you see it, and it's like you just kind of stare at it for days. That's kind of almost worth it. It's like I actually haven't even worn this hat yet, even though I have like 4 of them in my size. But I'm really excited to find the right kind of consistent fit and sneakers that I'm going to always be able to wear. But I think I can probably wear this with a lot of my sneaker collection. Super excited. I mean, like couldn't be more thankful to you, and thanks to to Luke and Pro Image Sports Colorado, and of course Willis, who kind of got me started on this journey, and took all that money out of my wallet.
For sure. So we like packed this with metallics, but the cool thing about this hat that I think is that sea glass color that you talked about, it's not quite like categorized as a metallic, but it still shines really, really bright. So I think that's what's kind of cool about this hat.
Yeah, it just has that dull kind of like green sea glass thing, like if you were at the beach. So I didn't intentionally do any of I didn't try to hook any of the colors of this hat to my dog, to Dakota, but it's just but this represents him. Like, I mean, like his eyes were kind of green blue when he was first born. They eventually turned into, be more of a kind of like a yellow traditional kind of wolf kind of eye colorway. But like when he was a baby, his eyes were blue, and that was kind of a little bit of this motivation. But really, it's just the fact that these colors just really look really good together.
Awesome. And now we'll get into your second hat. So tell me a little bit about Crazy George, because I hadn't heard of him, before making this hat, and it was kind of cool to learn the story and the origin because I'm all about my
Got it.
random
So yeah,
sports facts.
this is hopefully this takes some people back to like, you're, I'm 7, 8 years old. I've just started playing baseball, and like, when my parents let me watch television, like, you'd see an A's game on, they'd usually let me watch, a certain amount of TV, not like, kind of akin to like people probably with their kids with screen time these days. But like, it used to be that we only got an hour during the week to watch TV. But if I could watch as much sports if I was wanting, because my parents wanted to encourage me, and did a good job because I ended up becoming, a jock and played baseball until I was 22 years old. But the the magic of turning on a baseball game in the early 80s and watching the A's, who had like Ricky Henderson, and like we would be watching regular scheduled programming back when we had tons of day games, and all of a sudden they'd cut in to these games and be like, oh, Ricky's on first base because he was trying to break Lou Brock's single season stolen base record of 118. So like as soon as he got into the hundreds, like they would like channel 44, which was channel 12 on our commercials, on our TVs, like they would break in and be like, oh, Ricky's on first base, and like they'd show us like the last, like every time he would steal a base if the game wasn't actually on TV. And during that time period, there was three things that were really fucking cool about the A's. Number one, it was that they were like, there was some weird playoff thing. I think it was like they always kind of switched the playoffs back in late 70s, early 80s, but they were like in the playoffs one year, but it was kind of like a divisional playoff kind of weird thing that they were doing. But they were a really good team, and the outfield was Tony Armas, Dwayne Murphy, who used to fucking rock his hat like this, who was fucking just like a pimp out in center field, and Ricky Henderson. And then you had just like a really cool team. I think it was Shooty Babbitt was playing shortstop. Anyways, the manager of the team, and hopefully all the Yankees fans appreciate this, was Billy Martin. And, he basically, we kind of created this thing called Billy Ball. And so it was like, that's how A's baseball was like really promoted, was like Billy Ball during the early 80s. And during that time period, there was really two really cool things about watching the games. One was that every time the A's won, you fell in love with the song "Cool in the Gang" Celebration, because they would play it in the stadium every time the A's won, or they play it, on the TV every time they won. So it was like you're 7, 8 years old, like fucking just getting down to "Cool in the Gang." But the other really cool thing was that the wave started in Oakland, like the thing that people call the wave. Like they know, most people, depending on how old you are, might just be like, oh, the wave just kind of always existed. No, it was this dude, Crazy George, who used to stand on the top of the dugout. And I used to see him when I would go to games. And he would stand there banging his drum, and his name was Crazy George. And he was basically like a one-man cheerleading squad for the A's, and would direct the whole stadium and taught the whole stadium to do the wave. And there was really nothing like it. I mean, I would say, almost the pinnacle of, American stadium sports, because that we don't really have anymore because it's so corporate now. This was fucking super cool. So I kind of was like, you know what? I've been making, as you can see, I've been making Oakland hats, just because I for my love of the A's and just my childhood in that era, and this logo in particular, because I love those jerseys that said Oakland on them. So I was like, let's maybe make a hat for kind of in honor of Crazy George. I didn't like hook it to Crazy George, but like in my mind, this is kind of the Crazy George hat, kind of hooked to the wave. I would love to say that I made it blue because the waves are blue in the ocean, just because my favorite color is blue. And I wanted to make a sneaky two-tone and kind of experiment with, some different colors. And also, again, I wanted to use that Tiffany blue that I've been kind of excited about. But yeah, let's take a look at the hat.
All right.
So basically, we made the top, which is kind of like a dark royal, and then I think the visor is a light navy, and I think it's a green under. No, it's a gray under. We did a gray under. We used that kind of like Tiffany blue. We used a kind of a peach. We wanted to kind of experiment using kind of a peach outline around that Oakland. And it came out pretty good. I think in the future, if I was able to do it again, I'd probably love to see what the Tiffany blue looks like with a little bit of a darker peach, which we'll see on the next hat, which was kind of like why we kind of tried to tie it into this, this Tiffany blue and this copper All-Star Game patch, which I use on basically all my Oakland hats because I went to that. I didn't go to the All-Star Game, but I went to that All-Star weekend to see, the skills challenge and the home run contest, which back in the 80s was not really that cool. I think Matt Noakes was one of the contestants. So if that gives you an idea of, you'd think it would be like, oh, it was McGuire and all these people. They didn't really do a great job with the home run contest back in the 80s. It was kind of like B-level catchers named Matt Noakes in the home run contest. I should probably have done some research about who actually won that contest. But all I remember is feeling like, God, there wasn't a lot of home runs in this home run contest. It was like the middle of the day on a Saturday, I think. But I love blue hats. This hat came out awesome. I love the way that the copper works as a side patch. Just because I really don't like when it's just too matchy. When you have a side patch that kind of gets washed out with like the rest of the things, I kind of almost like the patch to kind of look like it's almost like it's out of place. Like, hey, this is a patch that just kind of got stuck on all these people's hats. That's just my personal preference. I'm sure people hate it, but again, like I said, I like it when I have a hat that is kind of unique to me, in the sense that like I like it when I like shoes or something that other people don't like, because it's like it's more of like my personal signature, and as long as I love it, it's like I shouldn't really care what other people think. I do, but I also don't. So it's really this hat came out awesome. It actually, the blues like work really, really well together, and hopefully people like it. And, if they buy it, hopefully it they'll enjoy wearing it.
All right, so I did some research for you while you were talking. 1985 is when the home run derby actually became recognized by the Major League Baseball. So this was the third inaugural home run derby, and first place was Andre Dawson. Second
Oh,
place,
wow.
Ozzie Virgil. Third place, George Bell from Toronto. And Mark McGuire looks like he didn't finish, but he had one total home run. I don't know how that works. But either way, Andre Dawson won, and he was playing in Chicago at the time. So
how many home runs did he hit?
It didn't say. So first, the stats aren't here. So first inning NA, second inning NA, but his total was 4. So apparently the way they did it was different. So basically, it was 2 innings special event. Each participant gets 5 outs per inning.
Yeah. It wasn't really like I said, it wasn't as exciting as we were led to believe it was going to be. It looks like they didn't even have a 1988 home run contest, and then 89.
Yeah,
it's like
89
Eric Davis and Ruben Sierra shared the title. That was the year that Bo went deep on that when he led off the home run, the actual All-Star game.
But it looks like the stats aren't even official. Just shows they ended up with 3 home runs at the end of it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It was not even close to the type of home run contest you see today, where like guys are hitting fucking minimum 10 home runs in their in the lineup. Like you said, it was like he had 4, so it was like, all right, it was kind of
4.
But it was, I remember George Bell for sure. But it was just like it felt like they were. My one feeling was like it felt like they were having a hard time getting the ball out of the ballpark. Maybe the balls were just less juiced back then. Back when baseball was just a kind of a different sport.
Well, now it almost feels like it's like a home run swinging contest, like how many swings you can get off in a minute.
Yeah,
it's like they're already swinging to the next pitch before the home run even landed. I feel like.
Here is the hat in hand. I think the lighting on my computer is not great, but you can kind of get to see a little bit of like the patch, and then kind of that Oakland on the blue. I just really liked the whole concept of thinking that this kind of blue hat, the wave, whatever, but like at least it kind of it gives me something to, when people ask me like, why is that hat the way it is, I can bring up memories of Crazy George, and help people think about it. But it's not a great hook, so to speak, but as as hooks become less and less relevant, I think it's not. I wouldn't call any of the things I do hooks. I would just say they're just stories behind the hats, which I think is fun for me. I don't think it's gonna make anybody buy the hat, but like at least I like to watch hat content, and I like it when people tell stories about why they made a hat, because I want to hear people's stories about their childhood or baseball or whatever it is in their life that kind of got them to have that initial thought of like, oh, I'm gonna start conceiving a hat in my head, and here's some of the things I'm gonna use to get my creative juices flowing, kind of a thing.
Well, I think the good thing about hats that unites us is that we all have a reason why we like it, whether it's be sports, whether it's your family got you into it, whether you collect, whether it's the city you're from, the players that you follow, the teams that you love. And I think you do a great job kind of melding the things that kind of tell the story of your life and where you're from and the things that you liked. And it's just, you like it's all about the vibe tree. You like to do cool shit that reminds you and um, brings you back to a time where you enjoyed it. So I think that's what's most important about it is it makes you feel good and it brings you back to a place where life was good and it gets to represent you. So I think that is what's most important about it.
Yeah, and hopefully everybody gets that and understands that, and like the people that watch hat content or just like any kind of hat fashion sneaker content, whatever, it's like we're not saving anybody's lives here, guys. It's not really that important. You know what I mean? One of the things I think I was telling somebody that I sent the hat to, I was like, if you don't like the hat, please tell me like what you don't like about it. Like I don't like it's not fun. Like you watch a lot of this hat content, and I understand it. Like everyone wants to support friends and people in the community, and and I don't think people should be dicks, or assholes about when they review stuff. But like sometimes, like it's just like I would love it if people said like, oh, I would love this hat if it had XYZ on it, or hey, that hat's not for me. Like it's like you'd rather get like kind of honest feedback from folks. I mean, obviously you don't want them to be mean, but like, honest feedback, constructive criticism is always great, just because you want to understand like, hey, you don't think these colors went well together. What colors do you think would go well together? Because, sometimes I see hats and I'm like, I'm pretty limited. I'm a picky eater. My color palette is going to be pretty normal. Like if you look at my Instagram page, you'll see like I've really only used about 4 different logos. But I don't know if I will ever use logos for teams or that I don't have some sort of like emotional connection to, because I don't necessarily, I bought tons of hats during the pandemic and I've never worn even close to 90% of them, because you put the hat on sometimes and you're like, I don't like, I can't rep this city. Like, or like, I don't really, or like, even if the hat looks super cool, you're like, you just feel a little bit like an imposter in it. And that's just everybody's own kind of individual kind of decision to make. Like if you feel comfortable wearing the hat, wear it. If you don't, then don't wear it. And I just got to figure out how to sell about, 500 hats.
Yeah. If you're a 3/4, get in Joe's DMs. But last but not least, we talk about your upbringing and where you're from and everything. So the last one represents San Francisco, and it's not a team that people typically think of, which I think is cool. We got to play a little bit in the minor league. So talk a little bit about the last hat.
You're gonna switch the
Yeah,
slide.
I can switch it.
Okay.
I didn't know if you want to cue it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Why don't I talk about it first?
Yeah.
So when you grow up in San Francisco, and you're any kind of a baseball fan, like if you like most of your coaches or somebody's at some point, someone's going to start talking about San Francisco Seals, because that was a really iconic team, because Joe DiMaggio and his brothers Vince and Dom all played for the Seals. So like my dad saw Joe DiMaggio play. Like if you had parents that kind of were in that era, grandparents, like they would all talk about, hey, Joe DiMaggio. We used to watch Joe DiMaggio play at Seal Stadium in San Francisco. It no longer exists, and the San Francisco Seals don't exist anymore. But like it's a part of San Francisco baseball folklore. back in the 80s, I mean, like I gravitated towards, I'll send Leon a photo, but like my godfather was kind of a huge influence on me. Like he had season tickets to the Giants, he had season tickets to the A's. He was a really big collector of like baseball cards and bats and pins, and he would make us go like an hour and a half, 2 hours early to the games, and we'd sit there and ask players for their autographs and watch batting practice. It was really fucking couldn't have asked for a better godfather. Like, his name was Uncle Jerry Taylor, and he was basically my father when it came to that stuff. My dad wasn't really super interested in sports. He loved sports, but like he was really happy to have one of his best friends be my guide to like going to baseball games. And so, I became a fan of the A's, but then I found out that I had a brother kind of when I was 6, and he was a Kansas City Royals fan because he lived in Kansas City. So all of a sudden they were in the World Series, and I became a Kansas City Royals fan on top of an A's fan, which is not really cool to do because you should only have one team. At least that's the way I was brought up. So I kind of had to separate myself from the A's for a certain period of time while George Brett was playing, because my godfather introduced me to George Brett. I got to go down on the field, shake his hand, he signed balls and talked to me, and this Sports Illustrated photographer took pictures of us, and they're like hanging in my house right now, signed by George Brett to the Wolfer. That was my uncle always embarrassed me. He called me the Wolfer in all my Little League baseball games, and it embarrassed the shit out of me. Now I love the fact that I had a nickname, even though it embarrassed me when I was a kid. But yeah, so he kind of taught me a lot about Bay Area baseball. He was born in New York, was a huge Yankees fan. So kind of it always kind of stuck, Joe DiMaggio in my head because he tried to convince me to be a Yankees fan, but he was unsuccessful, similar to the way I was unsuccessful in getting my nephews to follow the teams I wanted them to follow. You can't get anybody to be a Raiders fan. But yeah, so Joe DiMaggio and just the lore of the DiMaggio brothers in North Beach in San Francisco, which is like the Italian section of San Francisco, similar to New York, where you've got Little Italy, and right next to Little Italy is Chinatown. Same thing in San Francisco. Our Little Italy is called North Beach, and Chinatown's right next door. It's just a really cool kind of story about the San Francisco Seals. And you couldn't get San Francisco Seals a lot of the memorabilia. Like they didn't really make hats. Once in a while, like a hat would come out and one of your friends would get it, and it'd be like, since it was so different, it was fucking the coolest thing to have. So like if you could get your hands on a Seals hat, like it was just dope. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and since I've been allowed to start kind of making some hats, I've made, I think, 3 Seals hats. This is my 3rd. And the first one I kind of used the big logo, which I didn't know I was using, but it didn't ruin the hat. I still stand behind that hat. It's pretty cool. But the second hat, I was able to use the smaller logo, which doesn't look that much different, but it's noticeable to me. And then this hat, I was like, I really wanted to kind of do something for, that number one, a hat that I would be stoked to wear. So I wanted to use colors that I was into. And then I started kind of looking at photos. I saw this Joe DiMaggio kind of bust from the Hall of Fame. And I thought that it was really cool. And since I'm really into brown right now, I thought that would be really cool to use like that burnt wood, super dark, and then kind of like almost kind of like play it off like the Giants have like a really, dark hat. They have a black hat with an orange logo. And I was like, well, it'd be kind of cool to use kind of an orange, but not use the same orange. And I was like, really, for some reason, I'm just kind of really digging peach these days. I'm really into peach socks, peach shoes. I'm not sure why. I'm just going through this like weird pastel era around like these greens and these peaches. So, but this bust kind of had this kind of peach glow. And I was like, dude, I was like, I think that would look pretty good on a hat. And then we could also kind of use this kind of like gold kind of lettering and kind of maybe on the side patch. Cause I probably shouldn't use a side patch on San Francisco Seals hats, but it's like, I got to admit it. I don't mind plain Janes, but I love a nice side patch. So we kind of made this hat that you'll probably put up here. And I can show you right here that kind of tried to incorporate, all these different kind of colors and kind of make a little bit of a, an ode to, to Joe DiMaggio and his brothers, Dom and Vince, that kind of tied a lot of, New York and San Francisco families kind of together. Yeah, this is what it came out to, and I couldn't be happier. The way I photographed it here, that orange looks a lot more orange. It's actually a lot lighter. It looks a lot more like a peach in hand. Hopefully, if people dig this logo and and dig brown hats with peach lettering, they'll like it.
Yeah, I think I remember you giving us the initial feedback on your first couple San Fran hats. You're like, I need it to be a little bit smaller, and then we got it resized to what it is here. So hopefully, it kind of matches closer to the spec of what they wore. But this is an awesome little hat here. Uh, Anything you hook to the Hall of Fame is just so cool. Major League Baseball is finally looking to, I feel, embrace the Hall of Fame stuff. If you watch any baseball this weekend, you would have seen um, all 30 teams wearing a Hall of Fame patch on a hat during games this whole weekend. I think that's kind of unprecedented, and it's cool that Major League Baseball is kind of leaning more into their history. And we saw the Rickwood games, and now they're trying to spread the gospel of baseball, going to different countries all the time. Next year, they're opening their season again in Japan, Cubs versus Dodgers. So whatever we can do to spread the gospel of baseball, I'm very happy.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many cool stories, and that's really what I love about Leon in the lab and some of the guests that you've been having on, like the gentleman from Black Baseball Mixtape,
Mm-hmm.
Mark Cheatham, is that his
Yep.
name?
Yep.
It was really cool to hear his episodes, and I know there's another one that's coming when the hats come out. But I can't stress how important it is. I feel like it is to kind of listen to those stories and kind of really try to understand what we can do today to kind of prop up some more of those stories. Not because we it's on us to do it. It's just like if you're the amount of information that we have at our fingertips today versus the amount of information we were hungry for, like when I was a kid, like the internet wasn't there, but if there was, I would have probably never have been off of it because I was such a stat junkie and wanting to understand it. It was like I woke up every morning at I couldn't wait to wake up because usually I had to go to bed, so I didn't know who won or lost the night before.
Yeah.
And it was my ritual. It was like, all right, I'm getting the San Francisco Chronicle. Our sports was called the green section. It was like the whole paper was white, and then our sports section was green. And my dad and I would usually fight over it in the morning. But I would get up early and I would make myself all of my breakfast, and I would just lay it out there, and I would just soak it up. I would soak up every single thing, and we would subscribe to the Sporting News, and I would get so excited to see a blurb that big on the Royals during the off season, or even if there was anything about the Royals or the A's or the Raiders. And back then, the Warriors weren't what they are today, but we had a pretty good little team with Sleepy Floyd and Joe Barry Carroll and Chris Mullen and Mitch Richmond. So it was fun to read about the Warriors as well. But it was we were so hungry for the information, and now there's all this it's information overload. But I feel I'm not making any kind of judgment about any of the generations, but there's so much more information now. It's almost like we take it all for granted, as opposed to we should be learning from it and helping retell those stories. And I'm not saying I'm telling a story here about Joe DiMaggio that needs to be told. I'm doing it probably as worse as anybody could probably do it as far as telling a story about Joe DiMaggio. But I think guys like Mark, who are out there with Black Baseball Mixtape and a lot of these other folks that are statisticians and historians, and they're out there telling these stories. It's interesting and it's motivating. And the people, baseball is kind of baseball is one of those sports that if somebody asked me what I love about it, I'd say the smell of the grass. That's what I miss. I just miss I miss having my knees be cut up because the dirt we used to slide on was rocks, and you had just this constant road rash on the top of your thighs from sliding either head first or whatever. or feet first, you're still getting cut up, and you knew that, like, but you learned to kind of really like that pain, even though like your pants were bloody. It was like it was kind of a badge of honor, but it wasn't like, oh, like, we weren't fucking dabbing or dancing on the fucking field like some of these kids do these days. Sorry, that is a little judgy. Sorry, but like but it's just the smell, because you were out there with your friends, and it was the light going down, being out there as it turned to dusk, and just kind of feeling, hopefully what every kid gets to feel, which is like you're carefree, like you're not worried about anything other than like how you're playing, or whether the girl at school likes you back. You know what I mean? And it's like that's, to me, like it's those little things about baseball, and more kids, I would hope, would continue. I mean, it seems like every kid's playing like whatever kind of like travel baseball and all this stuff, but like I think what Mark's kind of doing around Black Baseball Mixtape is really like trying to point out that, like, hey, there used to be this really rich culture of African Americans and baseball, and it's kind of fading away a little bit now, and that's kind of, it's a little bit sad. Hopefully it's it's just because of an ebb and a flow of the history, and there's nothing we can do about it outside of continue to educate people about the the amazing eras that we got to witness. And like it's almost like I wish there was a channel that kind of dedicated itself to showing games from like the 70s and all the personalities. It's like the hat you made, the Pittsburgh, like the fact that somebody was on acid and pitched a fucking game. You know what I mean? It's like
no hitter, yeah.
Like it's like, dude, like that's fucking baseball. Like, you know what I mean? Like, my favorite baseball movie of all time will always be Bull Durham, not because it's the best baseball movie, but just because like it's that feeling. They captured so many of like the awkwardness of like the weirdness of baseball players. Yeah. So anyways, hopefully I don't think I'm on a soapbox, but I just really, I really agree with you, Leon, in the sense that, the more we can talk about the history and people can feel connected to that history in one way or the other, is a good thing for baseball. And, it's a good thing for baseball logos. And, as you guys keep talking about, like these logos, they all have these different meanings to us for different reasons. And, they're special to everyone for their own individual reasons.
Yeah, 100%. Even if people don't enjoy the hat or don't buy the hat, whatever, if they still stuck around and listen to your story and listen to why you made it and feel the passion behind it, it's still a win, But if they do want the hat, they are now available on the website. So all you have to do is head over to proimsports.com, search Leon, and they will be available for you to purchase now. And hopefully they still have your size available, because the release has been a little bit limited. But yeah, again, shout out to the team over at Pro Image Sports Colorado, Luke, Vince, Hefe, Willis, everyone doing their thing. Kat, for sure, helping us make all these great hats. But yeah, it's been a fun ride.
Here's the hat in case I didn't show it.
Oh yeah,
because I turned my whole. Just so everybody knows, I normally don't do any of my Zoom calls or work anything in color. I try to go black and white just because I look fucking red and weird in color. So I try to give myself the best chance of not looking like a weirdo. So usually I'm in this back baddie. It's not going to show up, I don't think, here.
It's too metallic.
Yeah. It's too metallic. But yeah, it's like gold and like kind of like the side patch with like kind of a metallic light blue metallic blue. But yeah, just wanted to make sure I showed that because I went to the trouble of changing my camera. But yeah, Leon, as always, excited for what you got going on. I'm going to assume that at this point, in 2 weeks, you're going to be over 1,000 subscribers. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And if you're not at that point, then we've done something seriously wrong and not promoted and gotten you those last 20 subscribers.
Well, whoever's watching it now, help me get to 1,000 or stay above 1,000. And a couple weeks ago, I was gifted something really cool from Kat, but I didn't know what I was going to do with it. Now, after watching this episode, I know now I'm going to re-gift these to you. So soon I'm going to be handing these brown New Era socks. So brown and orange.
Dude, those are
So
fucking dope, man.
these are will be in a care package. I hope Kat won't mind me regifting these, but these are not really my color palette, so these are
Oh,
coming your way, sir.
dude, those are straight up my those are straight up my
Yeah,
alley. Those
yeah.
things are
So
those things
this
go perfect.
episode,
I
this
do think that
episode is sponsored by
socks are
New
going to be the new hats coming up. People are going to be start collecticing socks like I've been collecting socks.
Well,
Just
do you have
hoarding
any
them.
New Era socks?
I don't. I mean, most of the socks I have are Stance.
Mhm.
I collect a lot of old skate socks, like from Vision.
Right.
I've been recently buying these socks called Socko.
Okay.
They're super cool. They're they're like traditional
Okay.
like three striped socks.
Nice.
But they come in different sizes, and the cool thing is they all fit, so you can kind of choose whatever size to kind of control the length of them. But they got a lot of great pastel colors, and they're all three stripes, just like the socks I wore when I was a kid in the '80s. So yeah, I'm a sucker for nostalgia. But those socks look awesome, dude. I'm glad New Era is making socks. It's gonna
The
be something else
embroidery
I
on
have to control myself with.
them. The embroidery on them is sick.
Yeah,
So these will be coming your way, sir.
awesome, dude. I really appreciate it. Well, thanks, Leon. This has been fun as always. So I'll let you take us out of here, and then I'll catch up with you later.
Yeah, make sure you guys give Joe a follow. JWolfer73 on Instagram. We're always having different projects and things that we're working on. This hat came from the Ugly Christmas party, episode 1. Forever be thankful for all the different practice pictures.
Let me give a quick shout out to our buddy.
Oh yes,
I'm going to give a quick shout out to our buddy JJ Goach, the CEO over at the Austin Gamblers, the PBR team. You'll probably have already put out a Leon in the Lab episode kind of previewing these, but
yeah,
it's a fucking dope logo, and it's got what the whole Views in the Vault crew has convinced the world of. Your favorite color is Vault Green, but
yeah.
But it's dope. I mean, we if anybody hasn't seen the episode where you interviewed JJ and talked to him right when he was starting the Austin team. It's really cool to hear his background in baseball and and then hear the logos and see some of the hats, because you kind of mocked up a hat very similar to this for him, and it's cool to find out that he finally got a New Era account and was able to get some of these hats made. But like I said, hopefully you'll have a Leon in the Lab behind the brims up about these hats shortly.
Yes. Shout out to JJ for sure. Good luck to the Austin Gamblers on the third season of the PBR teams. And yeah, hopefully they take home the championship. I think they've won 2 regular seasons, but have not taken home the full championship. So we'll be definitely cheering them on from the sidelines, and hopefully they have a great season. And yeah, it's for them to jump back into it and up their merch game, and for him to admit okay, I know we do hats, but we don't do New Eras, and they've rectified that, thankfully. So they've released 2 beautiful hats available now on their website. We'll put the link in the bio for sure, but I can't wait to see them and kind of their growth, because they're kind of known as like the New York Yankees of the PBR team circuit. So they got to take home the championship this year for sure.
Super cool sport to learn about. And that show that we watched last year, that JJ had us watch on Amazon, called The Ride, getting to see behind the scenes. Again, this is probably old news because you probably already released an episode about this with the hats, but if you get a chance to watch on Amazon, PBR, The Ride, really cool thing. So all right, Leon, thanks so much, man.
All right, make sure everyone subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Drop a like on the video and let us know in the comments which of Joe's hats is your favorite. Until next time, Joe and Leon, we're out of here.
Brought to you by VFTV.